is the top level of players. And there are some kind of awkward hands sometimes, some awkward situations. We saw in a match yesterday, different attackers that maybe you wouldn't see you attacking into had to be used. So.
Wow, 2 Drizzile and Radiant Greninja prized for Andrew.
Oh my goodness.
That's a rough one.
The prizes have been not working in our players' favors today, that is for sure.
Hisuian Heavy Ball can only do so much.
You know, even in these Origin Form Palkia V-Star, Palkia mirror matches, the prize cards are at least keeping it interesting, Kyle.
No kidding.
Oh, right. Yes.
We saw the fist bump, and here we go, kicking off our other top 8 match, our second of 4 here from the Pokemon TCG World Championships. Looks like James will be going first in this one, which does tend to be a pretty big advantage, but it all depends on what you're able to do with that first turn.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen some very explosive first turns from Palkia, and we've seen not explosive first turns, some Manaphy starts as well that are pretty rough to see. But James does have access to that Radiant Greninja, which, as we already know, Andrew Estrada, as for now, does not, because it is in the prize card. So there is that first turn consistency that you could potentially get depending on what is in hand. And we do see, is that 2 Battle VIP passes, Kyle, in hand?
Not a bad way to kick off your top 8 match.
I know I saw 1, but there might even be 2 in there. And on top of that, 2 Capacious Bucket as well. So just all the energy, all the Pokemon being searched out here with both of these cards. Oof. Wow.
That's what you love to see. Battle VIP Pass is one of the most high variance cards in the standard format. You can only use it during your first turn. When you have it, it's amazing. Get to search for 2 basic Pokemon, put them on your bench. If you don't draw them on your first turn, you draw them later, you can't play them anymore. They're just kind of dead cards that clog up your deck. So it's a very high risk, high reward card, but hey, you can see how strong it is here and why players have chosen to put it in these decks. The games where you open with the Battle VIP Pass in hand just go so much smoother than the ones where you don't have access to it.
Yeah, especially when you open with 2 in hand as well.
Yes.
That's definitely a plus.
Yep. So far, perfect start for James. Got plenty of energy in hand, got the Battle VIP Pass, got the concealed cards going with that Radiant Greninja. It's not in the prize cards. So, yep, there it is, the second Battle VIP Pass. So everything going well for James so far. You really can't ask for much more.
Yeah, I didn't
energy
get to
attachments, everything.
I didn't get to see Andrew's opening hand here, but kind of nervous about it now. But James just stacking the board state here. All of what James needs for these future turns, a very strong start. We just really need to see that energy, but we already know there's plenty in hand for James. So getting that super explosive first turn, especially in the mirror match, being able to swing into a Pokemon first or even have options as well to what you knock out, especially when you have so much access to the cards in your deck. If you have multiple Sobbles down, multiple Shady Dealings too. It's just a really great turn for James. And now we are over to Andrew Estrada here, and we will see how the first turn lays out for him.
Yeah, it looks like a very strong one with the Irida. This is an excellent first turn supporter for this deck. Go search for a water Pokemon and any item card. So it can be any water Pokemon, basic or evolution, or anything in between. And then any item card, and there's so many strong item cards in the standard format right now. This is where you can find things like Hisuian Heavy Ball if your prize cards are horrendous.
Which they are.
Where you can find Battle VIP Pass. We see some players opting to just play like 1 Battle VIP Pass.
Yeah, actually, Andrew does play 1 Battle VIP Pass.
Knowing that you could just Irida for it. You could play 4 Irida and just go, all right, play this, grab the VIP Pass, and it's like you're grabbing 3 Pokemon. The flexibility on this card is so important, and it's really shaped how all these Palkia decks are built. We're seeing players shy away from higher counts of bosses orders and go towards playing cross switchers, because when you play Irida, you can grab a cross switcher. So the flexibility on this card is incredible, and it's one of the many reasons why these Palkia decks are so strong.
Oh, you know what I actually just noticed, Kyle? The Battle VIP
Oh, yeah.
Pass, the one copy, is in the prize cards as
Of
well.
course.
So really, at this point, Andrew's best bet, I think, to get that consistency. Oh, wow. Was it with the quick ball, or was the Hisuian heavy ball grabbed off of
I
that?
think he grabbed a level ball.
Oh, a level ball. Okay. So the Greninja, the Radiant Greninja is in the prize cards, but I guess there was the heavy ball on top there for Andrew for a while, but I guess went with the level ball instead. But quick balling now, discarding the ultra ball to search out a Sobble and just benching it right away. So yeah, the Radiant Greninja will stay in the prize cards until something else can happen potentially for this turn. Not sure what else is in hand, but we shall see.
Yeah, this is never a situation you want to be in the mirror match. Your opponent clearly has the more dominant position. They went first. They've set everything up. They'll be able to attack they'll be able to attack first and put on pressure, maybe get a knockout on turn 2. But as we saw in the earlier match between Otavio and Calvin, you can make wild comebacks in this matchup with things like Roxanne. And, you get Radiant Greninja hitting multiple Pokemon. There's lots of things you can do. So even though this looks rough for Andrew at the start, there's still lots of game to be played.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And there is, Andrew does play Roxanne in the list as well. So we could potentially be seeing, I think both players have one Roxanne in the list. So there is some disruption there that we can see from either player down the line.
Yep, but at the outset of the game, your main goal is just set up Origin Form Palkia V-Star, get a big attack off. There's some situations where you power up Radiant Greninja and attack with that, but Andrew only has one Sobble in play, so maybe not the best option here. I would imagine James will just try to do whatever possible to get off a big attack here and hopefully a knockout if possible. With a full bench, just on your side, Subspace Swell does 160 damage. There's also 2 Pokemon on Andrew's bench, so that's up to 200. But it does mean James will need a Choice Belt to get a knockout on this active Palkia. So it's not guaranteed that we'll see a knockout this turn, but it is all but guaranteed that we'll see a large attack.
Yep, there is one Choice Ball in deck. It is not in the prizes, so there is the possibility to have it there. And James does have access to the Shady Dealings off of a Drizzile as well, if there's a way to evolve into it. So right now we see the Quick Ball discarding a Water Energy to search out another Sobble here into hands. Definitely good.
This is a perfect start. Got Drizzile.
Yeah, having Drizziles in the hands. Now we see it.
Yeah, got Shady Dealings. There's a Scoop Up Net in hand already. This is basically James's access to any card he could want.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this is just showcasing how consistent these decks flow with that Shady Dealings in play off the Drizziles and the Shady Dealings in Teleon as well, because now James is really just able to pick out whatever cards that he wants from the deck, and that is going to be a Tool Jammer there, Kyle.
Yeah, I think James may be playing a bit more defensively here with the Tool Jammer. Could be a way to prevent your opponent from getting a return knockout. We do see just retreat, and we are going to see Radiant Greninja be used here. I was wondering, there is just one Sobble in play, and Andrew's hand might seem a little weak. So there's a couple different ways you could go about this. You could just try to soften up both Palkia here, or you could take out the Sobble, take away the Shady Dealings option, and hope your opponent just doesn't draw very many options. And yeah, that's exactly what James is going for. Take away any opportunity for Shady Dealings, cut off that consistency engine, but also soften up one Palkia and really put Andrew in a tough position.
Absolutely, yeah. That V-Star power was used there off of the Origin Form Palkia V-Star to attach those energies to be able to attack with that Radiant Greninja, the Moonlight Shuriken, to do 90 damage to both, of course, knocking out that Sobble and taking that one prize card. Now we're over on Andrew's side here, so starting off the turn, but now very limited. Needs to get out more Sobbles if there's going to be any chance here to be able to search out more cards in the late game and sort of line up the strategies needed to kind of take the game home, because there is a lot of one-off cards that I'm sure our viewers have seen in the other matchups as well, you know, searching for cross switchers, searching for choice belts, things like that, that you kind of need access to. So having limited Sobble and Drizzile in play is a huge disadvantage.
No,
is that a ruled region?
hate to see a second rule the region, but we are seeing it. This is not a great start for Andrew. Just doesn't even have energy cards. Yeah, taking out the Sobble there for James, I think, just set Andrew back a full turn. And this is swinging back into James's favor for sure. Going to have all the tempo in this game. Of course, it's not over by any means. As we mentioned, there are plenty of ways to come back in this matchup, but it is looking really rough right now for Andrew.
I mean, honestly, Kyle, it was kind of looking rough from the beginning with those prize cards.
Yeah.
2 Drizzile, Battle VIP Pass, and the Radiant Greninja in the prizes for Andrew Estrada. But unfortunately, that's sometimes how luck goes. It's just always a bummer to see it in these high-intensity matches, especially in top 8. But, you know, this is best of 3, so there's always chances for comebacks here. But now we are on James' side of the board. We did see, I believe it was a Capacious Bucket.
Yep.
Searching out 2 Water Energy. And now it looks like we are potentially going into an Irida. Searching out a Water Pokemon and an item card from the deck for James.
Yeah, I think for James, your goal, as we see the Crabominable V come out.
Oh, here we go.
I think that's probably going to be
maybe some discard fodder.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrew's got to take a look at that one.
Yeah, Andrew's like, oh, what is this? All right, oh yeah, I know what this is. Yeah, it's the full art too, beautiful one.
Yeah, if you're James in this position, the number one thing you want to be doing is trying to play around hand disruption as much as possible. Trying to put yourself in a position. Oh, and here we go, another
the cross switcher play.
Targeting down the Sobble once again, taking away those Shady Dealings abilities. But you really want to just set yourself up to be in a winning position once we get to that phase of the game. Try to thin out cards as much as possible. Try to delay taking prize cards if you can, building up your board position and trying to get in a state where, hey, even if my opponent plays Roxanne, puts me down to 2 cards, I still have everything set up and I have a really good chance to just close out the game.
Well, not only that, Kyle, but just leading off of that, because 2 Sobbles were knocked out first, that's still not in range of being Roxanne. So at this point, if the Arceus V is knocked out, then you still need 2 prize cards and you are able to be Roxanne, but at least it's not earlier in the game. You give yourself more access to those knockouts and kind of avoiding the Roxanne as well, which is huge. And not only that, but you're shutting off the potential Drizziles as well, if Andrew can even find a Drizzile in the deck, with 2 of them being in the prizes, only 1 in deck. So that is very rough for Andrew there. And we're just seeing the pop-off here from James.
Yep, Shady Dealings will find that Melanie. Get to attach a Water Energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon V and then draw 3 cards. We see the quick shooting in Kellyanne as well. So yeah, James just doing everything in his power to take full control of this game.
Yeah, now, running away with it too.
Yeah, now we're in Roxanne range, but wow, what can Andrew do at this point? He doesn't even have any other bench Pokemon. So even if he manages to do something like Roxanne and power up this Palkia,
the damage output is just not there.
Yeah, and there's the Tool Jammer as well, blocking a Choice Belt. So this is not looking great.
Yeah, absolutely. There was 1 energy, and then it was the V-Star ability to attach 1 as well.
Right.
Wow. You know, that V-Star, that Star Portal V-Star power allows you up to 3 energy from the discard to be placed onto the board state. But of course, sometimes you get in these awkward situations where you are desperate to just get 1 on the board, which is exactly what we saw there, unfortunately. But we did see, I believe, the subspace swell there. But as we just said, it's just not enough.
Yeah, and James just looking, thinking, what else do I have to do here?
Yeah, James just swinging back in.
Quick shooting and attack. And yep, that will be a fairly uneventful first game, but James will take that one down.
Well, let's hope the prize cards are a little bit more balanced there. I'm sure, you know, these players sort through their decks at the beginning of their turns through their deck search cards. So I'm sure they're very well aware what is in the prize cards, what they have access to still. And Andrew seeing all of those Drizziles, the Battle VIP not accessible, the Radiant Greninja as well. That was just such a rough start for Andrew from the beginning, especially going second too. Going second and not having accessibility for or access to the Battle VIP pass is just so rough.
Yep. But Andrew's been here plenty of times. You know, if you played in enough tournaments like Andrew has, former world champion, you've been through this a lot. You lose the first game in a best of 3, it's not the end of the world. You still get to have an opportunity to win the next 2. Sure, you're at a disadvantage, but hey, that's just how it goes sometimes. So if you're Andrew, it's all about just forgetting that game even happened, move on. I'm sure he's played plenty of Palkia mirror matches over the last couple days.
Yes.
Just shake it off and focus on the next one.
I actually paired against Andrew Estrada in one of our matchups in Indianapolis, and very friendly person, was playing Mew VMAX at the time, and had some great games. So definitely a great player here. Super friendly, and I'm sure not shy in front of the camera too. Like, he does seem very comfortable being on stream. From what I see, even under such poor circumstances, I feel like Andrew's maybe the type of person to be like, well, you know, you do what you can do, but sometimes things just work against you. So
yeah, of course, he is a former world champion. Won all the way back in, I believe, 2014.
Yep.
So he was very young when that happened, so almost like grew up in the spotlight.
Yeah, maybe just used to it over time.
Of course, won an epic match at that World Championships with that Virizion Genesect deck. Had some crazy games there. We'll see if any sort of similar craziness happens here in this match. Hopefully a little more eventful than the first one. Both players will set up. I would assume that Andrew will choose to go first. It's a big advantage in this Palkia mirror match. Looks like James does not have a basic Pokemon in that opening hand, so there will be a mulligan here. So just gonna shuffle in, draw another 7 cards.
Oh, 2 Sobbles, Kyle. Woo! I mean, at least.
And the heavy ball.
Oh, the heavy ball was in there too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yikes.
That is definitely unfortunate to see. Luckily, Andrew does play 4 Sobble at least. I know there's some lists that roll with 3 Sobble, so there should be 2 left in the deck there for Andrew, so can still potentially work around it. But depending on what happens here, I'm sure Andrew also opted to go first here, so you know there probably wouldn't be, of course, that potential keep calling if you go second. So hopefully Andrew's able to navigate around that, but prizing 2 Sobble and the Hisuian Heavy Ball is just also pretty unfortunate.
Oh no, Crabominable V's prize.
Oh no, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually looking at James's season as well in the 2022, and also has been piloting Mew VMAX as well this entire season. So both players are switching it up here with the origin form Palkia.
All right, what do we have for Andrew this time? Starts off with the concealed cards, but I don't see access to a Palkia or even a Sobble on this turn. We do see the scoop up net can get another attempt at this concealed cards ability. He really, really wants to find a way to get a Palkia.
All right, so let's see those 2, Sobble and an Inteleon. That is not going to be a way to a Palkia.
That's not it.
That is definitely not it. At least there is that Radiant Greninja now in play, but you know, when you use it twice and it still doesn't give you an out to get a Palkia out, that's pretty unfortunate there.
Yeah, when you're sitting across in this mirror match, if you're James, you're just thinking, okay, just don't bench a Palkia.
Don't bench a Palkia.
That's really the big first turn advantage here, being able to be the first one who is able to evolve into the V-Star.
Absolutely, and that's a huge disadvantage if you go first, but then are not able to even get a Palkia out. That is huge, and James, I'm sure, is breathing a sigh of relief now. Passes the turn. Andrew Estrada passes to James, and I'm sure James is like, okay, let's just set up here. The Irida, because James is going second, does have access to the supporter, and of course that Battle VIP pass goes straight to the top, along with that water Pokemon, which is going to be the Radiant Greninja for even more potential draw support if there's energy to discard it to you. So that is not what you want to see if you are Andrew sitting across from this right now.
Yeah, if you're Andrew, this is the nightmare scenario. You
Yep.
get to go first, it's a bad turn, and then your opponent immediately plays Estrada and grabs a battle VIP pass. This is not the place you want to be in. It's going to be Andrew fighting uphill once again. But James, everything going well for him so far. Got to be feeling pretty happy.
I'm sure happy, but still have to stay composed for sure, because you
Yes.
still want to make sure you're not making any slip-ups here and playing to the best of your ability. Even if your opponent is behind, if you make any sort of detrimental mistakes in a matchup, it could switch up real quick. So James keeping composed here. I'm sure already feeling much better having that first game won. And just going into the bench here with that Origin form Palkia V.
Perfect.
Yeah. Definitely. Here's the battle VIP, searching out 2 more basic Pokemon for the bench. So, it's multiple Palkia, multiple Sobbles options for James here. Pretty much just access to so much in the deck.
And with no Palkia on Andrew's side, there's no threat of any sort of attack. Sometimes you'd have to worry about, your opponent charging up Radiant Greninja and using Moonlight Shuriken. So then you have to think, do I need to put Manaphy down? But with no access to Star Portal, there's really no attack that Andrew can pull off on the next turn. So you can just kind of take it easy, not have to worry about anything.
You know what I'm thinking too, Kyle? If James is able to do kind of the same thing that we saw in the last game, which is just targeting down these Sobbles, Andrew has prized 2 Sobbles.
Oh, yeah, true.
Prized 2 Sobbles and the Hisuian Heavy Ball. So if Andrew loses the other 2 Sobbles that are in deck from James's early aggression on them, that could be the most detrimental thing in this match, and he could potentially lose it because of that.
Yeah. The good news for Andrew is he does have Manaphy, so the Moonlight Shuriken won't really be an option. But yeah, we could see aggressive cross switchers once again.
That's what we saw from James before. So it might just be, let me stick to the same strategy here and target the lone Sobble on the bench right now.
Yep, so now on to Andrew's turn. Now can play a supporter card.
Yes.
Of course, you can't play a supporter card when you go first on your first turn. Now he is able to play one and find a water Pokemon and an item card. So this turn's going to look a lot better, but now you're effectively a turn behind.
Yeah, going first, I guess you do always face that risk. It does give you the advantage if you can get down what you need for an optimal first turn. But if you can't get that, you are pretty severely behind. So Andrew just looking through the deck here, does get that Palkia V out onto the bench. Just a little bit too late, though, unfortunately.
Yep.
Because now, without the access to the evolution as well, because we're already a turn behind, you do have to wait an entire turn in order to evolve your Pokemon. So James could capitalize on that as well and take an early knock for 2 prize cards on the Palkia V2. So really, James has tons of options here. It's just in a really powerful position in this match so far. Andrew concluding the Estrada here and going into a concealed cards, discarding that water energy and drawing 2 more cards into hand.
Yep, I feel like we've seen this portion of the Palkia mirror match several times over the course of the event. One player gets out to the lead, gets their Palkia out first, maybe plays some cross switchers, gets a 2 prize knockout, and then basically the game starts from there. So we're going to see both players kind of go through their setup turns here at this point. Andrew's going to need to get multiple Palkia down, otherwise one can just get targeted down and you in the same spot that you were in on this turn. But it looks like he does have the tools to get to that this time. And yeah, that's really all you can do. Just try to build yourself up for the next turn because you don't really have any aggressive options for this one.
Yeah, playing very defensively for sure. We did see the quick ball here, discarding the Pal Pad. And then now we are going into a Shady Dealings with that Drizzile, searching out the level ball, going straight into that level ball, searching out another Sobble. So right now we have the 2 Sobbles that are left in the deck on the field for Andrew. So there is at least that option here. So maybe James, instead of targeting down the Sobbles, since, really there's still options for James. I'm interested to see what happens here, but And there now is 2 Palkia Vs down for Andrew, which is great. So
Yep.
Andrew's still playing to all of his outs here, making sure there is recovery positions to jump into for this later game. Just working in a defensive position, though, is really not where you want to be, especially when you're playing Palkia, because it's such an aggressive deck. You really just want to overpower your opponent and just have that really strong first turn and go from there. But we are now over to James after the pass. And we saw the draw for turn, and now James just really mapping out this turn here, going into the Drizzile evolution to pop off that Shady Dealings ability, searching out a trainer card from the deck.
You can see James already lining up the play. Gonna grab Irida, perhaps, or maybe just a cross switcher, but the play is clear. Get Palkia V-Star, use Star Portal, use cross switcher to bring up one of your opponent's Pokemon V on the bench, and get a quick 2-prize knockout.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of a go ahead there.
Yeah.
Just grabbing the cross switcher and the Palkia, but forgetting about the Irida. So the Irida was searched out with the Shady Dealings, and then just straight into the Irida here, into that Origin form Palkia V-Star and the cross switcher. So we are going to see some aggression from James, which is exactly where you want to be in this position for James. Getting those knockouts, just leading in the prize race, and taking it home to a potential 2-0 as well.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that both players took different routes in how to handle kind of the mirror matchup. Andrew's list is using Leon, which is a way to boost damage. And James is using a combination of the quick shooting Inteleon to put some extra damage counters on, plus Tool Jammer to prevent the opponent from using Choice Belt. So both these players have different approaches for how to kind of break the mirror match. Both have been successful, and we'll see which one comes out on top here. But everything going well for James once again. Picture perfect turn 2. Look at all the energy on the board. Got the cross switchers ready to go. I mean, you really can't ask for much more.
Absolutely. James utilized that Star Portal V-Star power off of the Origin form Palkia. Did switch into the Manaphy because, of course, if you end up using cross switchers, which is exactly what just happened, you also have to switch your Pokemon. So we did see that as well to get the knockout there on that Origin form Palkia V on Andrew's side. So Andrew did, of course, set up a recovery position for this. I'm sure expecting that to happen. But it's still such an uphill battle from here, Kyle. I'm not even sure how many energies are in the discard. I think there might be 2 or 3.
Yeah, so, Andrew has been using concealed cards.
Yes.
There's certainly energy in the discard pile. And this is one of those turns where you probably need to find that Leon. There is the Tool Jammer on your opponent's Origin form Palkia V-Star. So Choice Belt is not an option to get a one-hit knockout, and I assume you do want to get a one-hit knockout. So Andrew, if he wants to do that, we'll have to find Leon and then find all the pieces to get an attack off this turn. It's tricky to navigate from here.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's definitely a lot to navigate, especially with the lack of support in the draw here. If there is a Shady Dealings Inteleon, which I believe Andrew has had one in hand since the start of the game. So, yep, I do believe I see it in there. So there is options to searching out those trainer cards for Andrew. We'll just see how he decides to map out this turn.
All right, so it looks like Ordinary Rod. Just gonna throw one Palkia V back into the deck. And let's see what Andrew lines up for this turn. I assume there's gonna be a lot of Shady Dealings in our future on this turn. But what is Andrew able to compile, get together on this turn?
We're about to Shady Deal.
Yeah. One Inteleon can lead to a wealth of options, so.
That's very true. We did see the Tool Jammer come down onto that Origin form Palkia V-Star. Now going into the Inteleon, activating that Shady Dealings we've been talking about for the past several days now. And just searching out 2 trainer cards from the deck. So gonna have to decide what to do here. Andrew does still have access to that Star Portal V-Star power on the Palkia, so we'll be able to accelerate the energy from the discard pile as well to get off an attack. But what do you think, Kyle? Is this too far behind, or do you see a way for a comeback here? You know, if Andrew is able to take some prize cards, there's at least more Sobbles in there. So there is that. But what are you thinking, Kyle?
Oh, this game is far from over. I
Yeah.
think we're evenly matched here. I was actually trying to take a look at James's hand. It doesn't look very strong. I think James was in this position thinking, okay, with the Tool Jammer, I'm really safe from any knockouts, barring things like Galarian Zigzagoon, Scoop Up Net, sorts of scenarios. So James probably hoping that this Palkia doesn't get knocked out, but I do think Andrew has a couple ways to get the knockout, and that might put James in a difficult position.
Yeah, Tool Jammer does not stop a Leon, that's for sure.
Yep.
Andrew does play one copy of Leon as well, so.
So yeah, this is still anybody's game. There's lots to go. There's Roxannes to go through, all sorts of things.
Yeah, and we have seen some very interesting outcomes here in the matches today. When it seems like it's so heavily leaning to one side, it goes the other way, but we actually are going to see 2 energy attached off that Star Portal ability to the active Inteleon there. Does have a move, Aqua Bullet for 120. Also does 20 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon.
Yep, we are going to see the classic combo Path to the Peak plus Marnie. So maybe Andrew going with some hand disruption here, throwing the single prize Pokemon in the way, saying, hey, this is not a knockout you want to take. You want to be going for 2 prize knockouts, so I'm going to force you to have boss's orders, cross switchers to get around this, to do the thing you really want to do, while also getting in some chip damage, softening up the Palkia V-Star so that Andrew can follow up with a knockout on the following turn.
Absolutely. Andrew, having activated that Marnie, of course, draws into 5 cards, whereas James will draw into 4. So it looks like those 4, I saw the Evo Incense in there, maybe an Inteleon as well. James looking through the discard pile here for Andrew. And Andrew, I think just planning out the rest of these turns here.
Yep, saw the Aqua Bullet. The bench damage is blocked because of Manaphy.
The Manaphy, yep.
But yeah, just hitting for 120. It's going to make it easy to finish off that V-Star in the following turns. And now James has to decide, how do I want to go about this? Am I okay just taking a knockout on this single prize Inteleon, or do I want to try to push further and try to bring up my opponent's V-Star, get a hit in on it before they have a chance?
Yeah, this is where some difficult decisions definitely have to be made on the side of James here. So it's going to be interesting to see how he chooses to navigate this.
Yeah, cross switcher lined up.
Yeah, starting off with the Irida here. So searching out a water Pokemon and an item card. And yeah, just looking at the cross switcher. And it looks like the quick shooting Inteleon as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if James can get a knockout this turn. You would need 2 full benches to hit for 260, and then the 2 damage counters from quick shooting.
Yeah, maybe just doing the math.
So you'd be 20 short. James does play Echoing Horn as well, I believe. So if you're able to really string all this together, that is a huge opportunity to take a big swing in this game, almost a game-winning position. But it's really a lot to have, especially after a Marnie.
Yeah, when you don't really get to choose what cards are in your hand, it definitely can be tricky. But James does play that 1 copy of Echoing Horn. That is the case, Kyle. So.
And that may have been why Andrew played the Ordinary Rod to shuffle all the Pokemon from the discard pile back into the
That's
deck.
actually probably exactly what happened, Kyle, because we did see the players. James said, oh, can I see your discard pile? And Andrew even kind of shuffled through, showing, yeah, there's no more Palkia in here. So I think that actually was definitely on the table here for James. But just swinging in with this subspace swell. Of course, not enough damage for a knockout, but still getting the damage on there. James still leading in prize cards.
I don't think that's enough damage counters. Right now there's only 200 on there. There should definitely be more. Missing a 6.
Oh,
there
we go. They're adding it. Maybe just forgot that one there.
I'm on 120. You're on 260.
All right, so now we are back over on Andrew's side of the board. We did see the draw for turn here.
Yeah, and this has put Andrew in a really, really tough situation. You know your opponent has access to quick shooting once again on the next turn and can knock out your V-Star using that ability. So you're torn between taking a 2-prize knockout on your opponent's V-Star or going after the Drizzile on the bench, because that can threaten the quick shooting on the next turn. But when you do that, it's only a 1-prize knockout. You're not dealing with the Palkia. So James setting up kind of an impossible scenario for Andrew, saying, look, you can deal with one of these things, but not both.
Yeah, definitely trying to set up that checkmate there. But I believe in Andrew here. I mean, we're talking about a former world champion, Kyle. So we could see some world champion moves here potentially from Andrew. As you said, I mean, it could really go both ways for both these players depending on what happens, especially because you never know if there's going to be some mistakes made potentially, or some just things that are overlooked. So you can never really write off a game until it's over. So Andrew, and especially Andrew taking so much time with these turns, making sure that everything is mapped, I'm sure has a lot of experience with back-to-back matchups. I mean, if you think about it too, both these players have been playing for days now. I mean, if they started in day 2, now they're playing even more rounds in day 3. So it's a lot of mental aspect to it, having to hold up after so much.
Yeah, they're all high-stress games.
Yes, yeah, on the stream as well.
Yep. So capacious bucket coming in, fill up the hand with some water energy. I think Andrew just kind of plotting out, how do I win this game? How do I crawl out of this hole? My opponent has put me in a difficult position. This would be another great spot to play something like a Marnie to disrupt your opponent's hand, because you know that James played Scoop Up Net and brought the quick shooting Inteleon back to hand. You know that's sitting, waiting to be played on the next turn.
That's very true. Yeah, and if you can't disrupt it, that is definitely going to be a problem coming up. That is for sure. So shuffling the cards there. Andrew's going to bench another Palkia V on the bench. So upping that damage output a little bit there, attaching a water energy as well. Of course, also giving the recovery option, another attacker on the board with energy attached, which is very important because after you already use your Star Portal ability, you don't have any more access to it. So Andrew's swinging, getting the first knockout here and tying up the game as far as prize cards goes.
This is the huge turn.
This is.
So if James uses quick shooting, can knock out the active origin form Palkia V-Star with just the ability, and that's not even using an attack. So we could see a 4-prize card turn if James is able to get that knockout, then bring up the origin form Palkia V on the bench and knock it out in advance to the top 4. It's just a matter of, does he have all the cards to pull this off?
Yeah, this is pretty much as high intensity as it gets here for James. Looking through the deck, has to play this out perfectly because these next 4 prize cards means that James is going to advance to the top 4, which is where you want to be because that is one step closer to being the world champion. So both of these players, I'm sure, in a very stressful position here. James searching through. We're going to try to see if we can even see in the camera if we see these cards in deck.
Yep, does need an energy card. So
yeah, I don't know what's in the hand as well for James.
Yeah, kind of scoping out how many capacious buckets, how many water energy are left. Saw an evolution incense and didn't see a Drizzile. So just grabbing the V-Star. We know that 2 scoop-up nets are prized for James, so which prize cards are taken could be very relevant off this quick shooting. So there we go.
Here we go.
2 prize cards and finds a scoop-up net. And a water energy, so that's, we're gonna see shady dealings for the boss's
there we
orders.
go,
That's
boss's order, water energy, shady dealings, oh my goodness.
James Cox is gonna advance to the top 4 here at the World Championships.
Wow, 2-0 for James Cox.
No, the energy wall. I need energy.
Wow, that was impressive gameplay. Those turns were intense. You can see James here, so relieved on the camera, advancing into the top 4. I'm sure so elated. I'm sure the heart is racing as well. That was extremely intense games.
Yeah.
And great job as well to Andrew. That gameplay, even being on sort of a reactive position, he still played that out so well. Went to all of his outs, didn't kind of fold under the pressure. Made sure all of the turns were optimal still. Oh, look at those players.
Love to see it.
The sportsmanship is so great.
Yeah, congratulations to James. I think a pretty much flawlessly played game. Obviously, drew well both games, but also put together the pieces to make the wins happen. And you saw at the end, the excitement was kind of building as he realized, I think I might have this, but keeping enough composure to figure out and not get too far ahead of himself, maybe make a silly mistake that can cost you. Nope, just took it easy, figured out the correct lines of play and figured it out, and hey, moving on to the top 4.
2-0 as well. Yeah, and we see kind of the prize cards curse again on the stream. I know it's always tough to watch from home as well, which is a position